girls and boys, welcome to another episode of your daily show, Fairy Tales. You know, a fairy always brings us a tale, and a tale is never lost on us. So how about you join me on a new story and a new tale that's been brought to us by a fairy. Our story today is called The Pirate Prince. Once upon a time, a long way in a time, there was a rich but lazy prince who spent all day sailing on the sea near his palace. The prince asked his father, the king, to build him a beautiful ship so that he could explore far out into the sea. The king commanded his finest ship builders to work day and night to complete the ship, which was painted with gold and had crowns on the sails. Soon the prince took the ship out onto the ocean. "We mustn't go far," warned one of the sailors. "This is the sea where the deepest and deadliest pirates, Captain Blackwater, sails on his ships, the Ruby Skull." The spoiled prince complained that he had never seen a pirate before. "I want to meet the dead and the dreaded Captain Blackwater," said the prince. So the golden ship sailed far out to sea until there was no sign of land. All that could be seen around them was dark column on the horizons. "That looks interesting," said the prince. "Sail towards it." The sailors grumbled, but they couldn't disobey the prince. When they sailed toward the strange column, they saw that it was a hurricane. It was whipping the sea up into a huge tunnel of water, higher than the ship. "How fascinating," said the prince. "I must see it more closely." He climbed up to the lookout post on the tallest mast. However, as the ship swayed in the choppy sea, the prince lost his balance and fell into the water tunnel. The prince was sucked into the hurricane and carried far away until at last the fierce wind died and the prince was dropped into the sea. He swam with all his might and eventually reached a deserted island. The prince lived on the empty island for many months, growing lean and fit. One day, a big, fast-looking ship sailed past. The prince waved and shouted at the top of his voice. The ship stopped and he swam out to it. A rope dropped down the side of the great ship and the prince climbed up. Someone helped him, but instead of grabbing onto a hand, the prince found he was holding a hook. It belonged to none other than Captain Blackwater, the most fearsome pirate on the 7 seas. The ship was his famous vessel, the Ruby Skull. "We have come to this island to maroon a group of miniatures," said the captain. "One of them was my second in command. If you can defeat him in a sword fight, you can take his place." Well, that was what the captain told the prince. The monstrous sailor was a wicked-looking man. Someone threw the prince a sword, and he fought the sailor on the deck of the Ruby Skull. With a clever flick of his sword, the prince sent the man tumbling over the side of the ship, and the pirates gave a big cheer to the prince. What happens next? We would know after the break. So, after the prince defeated the wicked pirate, there is a wicked sultan in these parts who kidnaps men from the coast and sells them as slaves, said Captain Blackwater. We plunder his ships and set the slaves free. Will you join us, stranger? Well, the prince had no choice but to join Captain Blackwater's crew and became a pirate. They sailed the seas and attacked the sultan's ship they could find, and they stole all the gold and jewels from the sultan. And also they set all the sultan's slaves free. The prince became a hard-working sailor and a brave fighter. He soon lost his spoiled ways. One day, news reached Captain Blackwater that the sultan has sent boats out to capturing a king who was sailing nearby. This king sails the ocean in a golden ship with crowns on the sails, said the captain. It's said that he searches for his long-lost son. When the prince heard this, he knew this king must be his father. I know this king, said the prince. If we can't reach him before the sultan done, we will be rich. The sultan's ship is twice as big as the Ruby Skull, said Captain Blackwater. We must reach the king's ship first. The captain set sail for the golden ship, but as it came within sight, the prince saw that the sultan's towering vessel had already reached it. The sultan's men had jumped aboard the king's ship and taken him hostage. Captain Blackwater waited until the dead of the night. Then he sailed up close and sneaked aboard with all his crew. When the sultan's men woke up, they found they were being invaded. They drew their weapons and fought the pirate. In the chaos of the battle, the prince reached the lower deck of the ship until he found a locked room. Forcing it open, he found the king inside. The king drew his sword. You won't take me alive, pirate, he roared. I'm here to rescue you, father, said the prince. The king recognized his son and they hugged joyfully. Together, the king and the prince rushed to fight with Captain Blackwater and his men. They helped the pirates to defeat the sultan's crew and capture the huge ship. When the battle was over, Captain Blackwater was very surprised to find that a member of his crew was a prince. However, he was a little worried that the king might punish him for his pirate ways. The next day, the king, the prince, and the pirates all sailed back to the palace together. The king was so delighted to have his son back, he made Captain Blackwater head of his fleet. The captain was so proud, he decided to give up being a pirate altogether. After that, the sultan never troubled the king or the pirate prince again, and everyone lived happily ever after. we have a short break, girls and boys, and get back to our story.
Page 61. Many species of parrots are prized for their ability to repeat words or to learn complicated tricks. The famous pirate Long John Silver from the story Treasure Island was renowned for having a parrot on his shoulder. They are clever birds and can be trained to talk, although their usual call is a loud screech, which can be heard ringing through eucalypt forests and public parks and gardens across much of eastern and northern Australia.
That was it for today's story, girls and boys. How about you join me same time next time on a new story and a new tale on fairy tales.